you don't look nearly as spunky. You don't look nearly as clean, fresh,
Yeah.
vibrant
Right.
as when you can just put in an eye drop and get those eye whites nice and white, clear up the reds in there, and things like that. So
You,
eye drops are a big thing for me.
you definitely look less diseased,
Yeah,
you know. Yeah.
it
I
doesn't look
mean,
like you
yeah.
just smoked crack and came to the show. I
Right.
mean,
No. Yeah.
you look
It,
good. So.
I know.
Hey, welcome in everybody. Tackbox Podcast. We are on episode 22, and today we are talking the essentials for your tack box. So before we dig into that, we've got to jump over onto the other side of the screen here. We got to say hello to Dale. Dale, how you doing today?
Hey, Tyson, it's all good. You were off to the dog show this last weekend.
Off to the biggest dog show that I've personally been to. It was gigantic, 21 rings. There was
Nice.
10 rings indoors, vendors lined all over the place. I spent way too much money on dog beds because I love the satin beds, especially with the long coat breed where you don't want their coat to get damaged. You throw them in on a satin bed or something like that. So, yeah, I spent way too much money. We got to show our dogs. We got to see. There was something like over 100 and some golden retrievers there. It was a big show. So, yeah, we
Big
got to do
show.
that. It was freaking hot. So, yeah, we're fresh off that dog show. Now we're looking forward to Litter of Puppies and then our local show. How about you?
Well, I'm going to Beagle Fest in Amana, Iowa, at the end of the month, and been just planning out my shows for through the end of the year and getting a couple of my puppies ready to go, and it's all good. It's all good. It's a hot time. It's a hot time of year to be traveling, which is extra challenging when you have brachycephalic dogs, of course. But it's been all good.
It's a really weird time of the year because it's super hot. So everywhere you go, it's like 90s. And then there's like school starts, like we start school today. So my kids are both at school,
Mm,
first day of school today. My wife is a teacher, so she goes back to school, all that. But then it's like I'm talking to other people and it's like, oh, we don't go back till September and something like so you're in this weird time frame. And then, you have
hmm
Labor Day coming up and it's a super weird time. But like it was one of those where so my wife had to work yesterday as a teacher while we were still at the show. So it was my daughter and I just went to the show. And then you
Right.
start running into the temperature things and brachycephalic dogs, right? Is like, well, we
hmm
wanted to go to dinner. Well, we can't just leave them in the car while we go in and eat. It's 100
No.
degrees outside. So
Yeah.
you start running into those little things of like, I guess we're hitting a drive-through or,
Yep.
different things
We're
like
gonna
that.
call
So,
for pizza. Yeah, call for
yep.
a pizza. Yep. That kind of
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
exactly. And then there was things where it's like, I forgot this and it's extremely important. So now I have to go out and find somewhere that sells this. And thankfully it was a big show and there's a lot of vendors there and I could buy what I needed. But that kind of generated the topic for this week. I was just like, Dale, man, what do you got in your tack box that's like a must for you? Because I have a few musts and when I forget them, it's like it mentally destroys me and takes me out, and I have to go get it. Even though I might not use it, it's like I have to have it in my box. It's like a
You
security
have to have it in the
blanket. So
box.
yeah.
You remember, did you ever watch Best in Show? At my,
I went to watch
yeah.
I went to watch that movie the other day and it's not on Netflix anymore and I had to pay to rent it, so we opted out, but it's on my list.
Yeah. There's this like super anal retentive couple and they're like screaming at each other. Did you remember to bring Busy Bee? She will always show for Busy Bee. And yeah, so everybody has that thing like who didn't put Busy Bee in the tack box? But your tack box, which is this is your plan. This is the black box. This is whatever you end up taking it in, whether you have like a beautiful aluminum tack box or whether you have like I have a tool bag. And I have been known to go to a dog show or two and throw my stuff in a Walmart sack. I have done all of that. But your tack box is your secret to success and it can turn the show around for you because that is your bag of tricks and what you're going to have with you is going to make or break because it's not just showing stuff and some grooming stuff. It's other stuff that's going to be like, we need that. We're going to need this. And So, it's like, it's your magic bag. Sometimes it's your bag of life.
And I've literally seen you at a show before, and it was like Harbor Freight toolbox with stuff in it, and then a Walmart bag. Yeah, I watched you pull stuff out of a Walmart bag. I'm like, look at this big spender here. He's got it figured out.
Yeah.
He's got
Yeah. That's
and
right.
then you see some of those people with those aluminum ones, and I don't have an
Nice.
aluminum one. I just have a little bag, mainly because I can't. I don't know. It changes so much. I
Well,
have the
when you come next time, I've got 3 aluminum ones. I'll give you one. They're too heavy to carry it. So my Harbor Freight bag is about as much as I want to lug in and out.
Well, yeah, and then it's like, okay, so I have like a bag, and it's like you push the trolley around, so then it's like, how much stuff do you want to take? And
Hmm.
again, that's kind of the purpose of this podcast is like, if you're taking 3 dogs, say you have a trolley, and now you got to get your grooming supplies and things like that as well. How do we narrow it down, or what are we narrowing it down to? So we're kind of calling this episode like what's in your tack box, and we want to hear from myself, obviously some important things for me, but we really want to hear from you of like, what are your go-tos, what are your necessities that need to be in a tack box? Maybe we're trying to get that big aluminum one down,
Hmm.
not so heavy, to something that is more
Right.
manageable.
Or if you're getting on a plane and you want to see what you're going to take. So, like one thing that is always in my, because I show Japanese chin, is I always have this in my tack box because I have dogs with big eyes and they can get stuff in them. They can just whenever you're on the road traveling, and if you're going to have anything go wrong with their eyes, you want to have your terramycin. You can buy this, no script. You can get like Tractor Supply, something like that. Very handy, very good stuff to have. Now, I keep eye drops like either Vicine or something like that in there just to keep to flush out their eyes. But in case you have something come up, you want to have your terramycin because this can take an injury or something that happens and you can turn it around and make this from a little setback into something way worse because you have your moment of window of treatment that we've talked about before. And that's when you like go, "Oh, yeah, what I need is some terramycin for that dog's eyes."
So is that like antibiotic eye drop type of thing?
It's an ointment. It's an ointment. It's a salve. And, and so if they, like say they scratch their eye, they get dirt in their eye, whatever, you can go ahead and you can treat this. It's not going to overly greasify their face. I have, like I said, I've used that and I love it. And always keep a tube in my tack box. And people go, "Oh, do you have any terramycin?" Well, of course I do. You know, I mean, but if you can't get terramycin, you're and like you this last weekend when you didn't have everything you needed, you can do a plan B and you can go to the pharmacy and you can get just triple antibiotic ointment stuff. If I can't get terramycin, this is my next thing. Is eye health, eye things on a large eyed breed, a brachycephalic dog like that, very important. Got to have it along with your Vicine. So taking care of their eyes is like something that you really need to do. Really important, as you can lose a really good show dog off of that. Not having that in your tack box when you need it.
Yeah. I have firsthand experience with that this last weekend. So I don't know what it was down in Greeley, but I had 2 Japanese chin with me. Both of them woke up the next, like, so we traveled in Friday. We showed Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So we traveled in Friday. I woke up Saturday morning. Both dogs are kind of squinting, and you get them to open their eyes, and they got goop. And it's just like it had to have been an allergy thing or something like that. But it's like I had to pull out the eye ointments that I had and get their eyes all done up. And then as one of the I'll just I guess tree off of this one because one of the big things for me that I don't is always in my tack box is eye drops, especially with the Japanese chin, because you can get their eyes cleared up before going in. And I always find it weird. Same with humans, but when you get bloodshot eyes, you get some red in your eyes. You don't look nearly as spunky. You don't look nearly as clean, fresh,
Yeah.
vibrant.
Right.
is when you can just put in an eye drop and get those eye whites nice and white, clear up the reds in there, and things like that. So eye drops are a big thing for me.
You definitely look less diseased,
Yeah,
you know? Yeah,
it
I
doesn't
mean,
look like you
yeah.
just smoked crack and came to the show. I
Right,
mean, you
no,
look,
yeah.
you know,
Eh,
so
Another thing that I like that I travel with my dogs because, of course, what's the one things when you stress them, and especially when you have young dogs or something like that, and you're like moving them around and you're breaking up their habits. That's like, one of the things like when the more you keep them like a show dog at home, the easier it is to take them on a show. Where if it's not quite such a radical departure of their schedule of how they're eating and stuff. But sometimes what I will do is I will bring along Entice. That's in my tack box. And this is something you have to get from script. You got to get it from the vet. But if you give it's an appetite stimulant because when your dog is eating and processing food, your dog is doing well and it's going to show well. It's going to be hungry. It's going to bait, all of that stuff. So that's another thing in my tack box. I'd use Entice. I keep it on hand. If one of the dogs is like deciding to be a little nerd and not want to eat, I'll go ahead and hit them with the Entice, and it works like a charm. At home, sometimes I use it, like I usually do for a couple of days straight in a row, and then every other day, every third day, kind of like to build up an appetite, especially when the boys are being super nerdy when the girls are in heat or something like that. Because when you have breeds that are not just like Labrador retrievers, they're going to eat 8 cups of food just because it's available. We have to work a little harder. But that's, you have, like I say, vet script, but definitely worth having, especially like when you're going to travel. Because if you're going to be gone for 2, 3 days, they can lose enough weight to not be competitive. A couple, a couple, 2 days of not eating, and man, they can go from being feeling fine to feeling like a rack of bones. And it's like you're spending hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to be at this show and all of everything it entails for you to be at that show. Dog's got to eat. Needs to eat. Needs to be good.
and that's I
You
mean
have,
that's a huge one because I that's something I experience every single show. I always take food with. I've never forgotten food yet. At this point, I'm sure I will, but I have noticed my dogs do not eat nearly as much when we're at a show. I mean, and when I say when we're at a show, when we're traveling. So
you've been
they
traveling.
don't eat
Yeah.
nearly as much when we're
Right.
traveling, and and I always get weird poops when we travel. Seems like I always get weird poops when we
That's the
travel, and it's
next.
probably stress, not eating, all of the above.
Right, because you're breaking up their schedule and all that. That's why, when you're talking about longer circuits, so important to keep them eating through there to maintain through the circuit. Because because once they start to not eat, then it's easier for them to go have a loose stool, which brings me to our next thing. This is liquid metronidazole. Now, it also comes in a pill form but this right here, if they're stressed and they're traveling, you can turn around and you have an off stool. You can go ahead and hit them with that liquid metronidazole, firm up their stomach, get them to feel better. They're going to want to eat more. It's not a good thing if you are in the ring and your dog goes ahead and has a less than stellar poop. It's not great to poop in the ring, period. It's worse if it involves a mop. You know, proud moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So liquid Metro also comes in pills. If you put the pills in a little bag or whatever, great. If you mark the bag, because from personal experience, looks amazingly like aspirin.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, there's a
Different
story with
effect.
that. We
Yeah.
won't share that. Still had a headache, you know, but yeah, 3 days of Metro works like charm. But have your metronidazole either in liquid or pills. We have flat faced dogs, so of course liquid's a little easier, but the pills work great. And that's a vet thing too. But I guess we have to make friends with our vets, because we need to have that stuff on hand. Did everyone have eat good for you this weekend? Good poops?
Nope.
Nope.
Oh, no. I always struggle. It's been this way since day one. I've always struggled when we go to shows to get them to eat at their normal eating times and to actually eat. Because I mean, we always stay at Airbnbs, so it's like you're throwing them into a new house after they just were locked in a car in a kennel traveling for 5 to 12 hours going to a show. You put them in this new
Hmm.
house. Not all the dogs are there, so their friends are missing, all the things. And then he's like, here's food. Well, they don't, and so by day two, day three, they're hungry or they're eating, they find somebody else's bait at the show and that upsets their tummy because it's something different that they're not used to having. This last weekend, this actual last show, this is true. My tri bitch, she had something, I don't know exactly what or how, she got something Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and it was at the show. I was standing there talking to somebody, and she was on the lead right next to me. And I looked down, she's eating something, and I was like, "Crap!" She got super weird on Sunday. She was like tired, lethargic, didn't want to do anything, didn't show the best. Right after the show on Sunday or on Monday, it's like she had the goopiest, weirdest, nasty poop, and then as soon as she
Hmm.
had it, it was just like, yay, here's all my spunk again. So something through her diet, or that she
Hmm.
ate didn't agree with her and threw her off, and it sucked, because it's like it threw the show. I mean,
Right.
who knows
We,
what would
we,
have
we,
happened if she was spunky and had her attitude, but she was lethargic, and
sure. Well, and that's one thing when I travel to shows, I like if it's the food I'm feeding and stuff, I like carrying those little sample bags. So those are wonderful. Like I'm sure that if you have those little dog food sample bags and stuff, like instead of having to take a big container of food, like have their little. And if you have something that they like that you don't do every day at home, that doesn't give them the poops. So experiment with this. So like if you have like fresh frozen Biljack or some dehydrated that they like. Just something is kind of like, okay, I know we're not in our optimum feeding time. Because when you have toy dogs, especially, they're like, you're gonna have to work at wanting me to eat. So, have that little trick in the can, like, okay, we're not gonna do this every day, but I know if I give you some fresh frozen or some dehydrated, that I can get you to the point of eating. And sometimes, like with the chin, I'll put them. Sometimes competition is a great thing. So I'll put them in the X pen. I'll put a sheet of newspaper out, and I'll put some food out there, and they'll kind of like see who can eat the most of it before the other ones get it. That type of thing.
like hungry,
You
hungry
know,
hippos. That
exactly like feeding the chickens. Whatever it takes. Because when you have some of our breeds, getting them to eat is a thing, and we want them to eat and have good poops. Then the other thing that is kind of important, especially if you have young dogs, is so if they're not eating the way they should be, then and they're expending energy and they're stressed, they can fall in blood sugar. This will lapse them into something we call hypoglycemia. Can be lethal to puppies. It can just make them like not perform very well. So I always carry some either NutriCal or a NutriCal equivalent. You can even go buy or Grandies and get honey packets, whatever. Just something that you can spike the little, little something to give them a little boost of energy. Sometimes, like if they're about to, go into the group and you think that they seem like their little lights aren't on as quite as bright, just a little shot of this might give them a little pick me up, a little boost, kind of like that espresso shot in your morning coffee, So this is something that's kind of handy to have in your bag. You good days you won't need it, but when you need it, you need it.
That's one where I have I have multiple tubes of those around because when I first got into Japanese chin, are scared the shit out of me with that so much that it's just like I got NutriCal all over because it's like I'm not losing the dog because of a sugar crash, and I've never had to use one, but it got scared into me from day one. So it's like
Yeah,
I have one in my whelping box, in my whelping toolbox. I have one in my uh, trolley, so it doesn't ever get forgotten. It just lives in my trolley. Yeah, there's NutriCal all over the place because that got scared into me. Um, that's a good one to have. It goes everywhere in my tack box.
it's a good thing. Of course, while you're traveling with your dogs, someone once told me a long time ago, If you ever want to see if there's a broken wire or one thing that can a horse can hurt itself on, move it to a different pasture. It can be in that a pasture for 10 years. Move it to a, change it up a little bit, watch them hurt themselves. Same thing when you're showing your dogs. You're traveling with them, you're doing new stuff, they can hurt themselves. It's easy to do. You can be setting them in an X pen and they jump out of your arms and they hit that last one. So I like to keep in my tack box a little bit of Remedil. And just in case somebody like does something and they seem like maybe it's just been being crated too long. Larger breeds can get real stoved up, but having a little Remedil in there can make the difference of being able to show or not being able to show. Very, very handy to have on there in your arsenal of making this show go optimum.
What is it?
It's a painkiller, and it's just kind of like a leave type of thing for dogs, where they just like a little painkiller, where if they're feeling stoved up or they've jinked their back a little bit, they'll feel a little better. And which I mean, feel a little better, they're going to walk a little better, they might eat a little better, the whole thing. So when in doubt, if they don't seem right, that's not a bad thing to have on hand.
Is it prescription?
It is. Again, you can, if your vet is cool and they write you a stripped off chewies, or honestly, there's not that much of a markup on it. And I think I'm kind of a big believer in, support our vets when on the things we can buy with them. So, ask them, say, hey, I'm traveling with a dog. I'd like to have that on hand, you know, because it's not like an expiration. It's good for a long time. I don't even know how old that
Yeah.
bottle is, but it's old.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm gonna jump in with one that is like lives in my tack box and multiple places, and I don't have one with me because it's in my tack box. Wet wipes, they come in handy so often.
Absolutely.
When you have a breed like Japanese Chin that has furnishings or pants or what long hair, and they have a poop that's not solid, you gotta clean it up in the back, and it never fails that it happens when you just get done grooming him. Okay, so he's got something that he's gonna spray and show you. I
Oh,
like
yeah.
to take the wet wipe right away, and it's like, if I see him pooping, it's like, I'm getting the wet wipe and getting it ready because it's like, is the quicker you can get there and then get that poop off, the easier the cleanup's gonna be. They're squatting and they're moving and they're dragging that hair in it. If they're, it's like you help as much as possible right away. So wet wipes would be on my list. What were you showing there? It looks like a rinseless wash and some baby powder,
Yep.
maybe.
So, yeah. So, especially if it's a stress poop and which is not like going to make a noise when it hits the ground, and you get that little bit of bile onto it that will stain the skirts of that lovely crimson yellow. So when you go ahead, use your wet wipe or whatever, and get as much of it out as you can, then using your self-rinse shampoo, a paper towel, clean that up good, and then put your good old baby powder. Go ahead and pack it in baby powder, and then brush it out, and it's clean enough to get away with. You're gonna take the smell out. You're gonna get the discoloration out of the coat, and I mean, it's a good day when it's a good day if you can prevent this from happening. Hence the other stuff, but when it happens, and it will, having that triage in your box where you can go, either we're going to be pulling or we're going to be, being able to clean this up. And so hopefully you won't need to use it often, but when you need it, you really need it.
It happened to me this weekend. I'm telling you, I bathed my dog and blew her out. As soon as I blew her out and, got her touched up and was like, okay, I'm going to put her down and get her ready to get kenneled so I can get my shoes on and we can get out the door and get to the show. Stress poop. And it was like right back. I mean, thankfully I was still at the Airbnb. So it's like, I just washed her butt and started over, but you're not there. You're at the show, you need those things. It happens, and it's gonna happen more often than you think. Anything long-haired, you're gonna have that issue.
Oh, sure. Or just, hey, even short hair. if it happens in the crate and you're driving and you get them out and they've got like poop shoes, yeah, all of that. You spray that with paper towel, get in there and clean up. Another thing that's kind of handy to have, because, of course, we have all of our other grooming stuff and, because liquor brush, comb, pin brush, all of that good stuff. But I always will go ahead and I have quick stop, quick stop. Anytime sometimes you'll be there and break a nail, something happened, or like, oh, we missed the toenail, go ahead and cut it, or it starts bleeding now 2 days later because I just decided it could. There you go. You always keep that on hand. That's just a must have. Should be in that box and hope you don't need it. I love these little cat cut toenail cutters for toy breeds. Super cheap, Dollar Tree. Love them. Great to have on hand. Have them all over the place. I have them stuck around my puppies and the stuff because I'm like, whenever I pick them up, I'm like, oh, your toenails, you know, and that could be on my epitaph. He cut 5 gazillion toenails in his lifetime, but having that quick stop on hand, it can be the difference between your dog having you know, leaving a little bloody trail through the ring. Not cool.
Yeah, that one was on my list. That was gonna be the next thing I talked about, and, uh, I've seen it before, not with my dogs, but again, we're transporting dogs in kennels. We're in an environment where they can have anxiety, they can be nervous. I've seen dogs paw at a kennel so much and get their toenail stuck and then they're bleeding all over because it's like you need something to stop that. Now, little side hack, if you don't have a quick stop, I mean, first of all, you should have it, but cornstarch also works for that. And it
Mhm.
also, if you're gonna put anything on, try, around here maybe to, dry anything up, and you're gonna, cornstarch works for that too. So you can kind of kill two birds with one stone. But a quick stop that's what it's meant for. So I think more
It's
beneficial to
wonderful.
have that. But if you don't have any around, cornstarch might work to help with that too. But what else you got? What's
Absolutely.
next?
Q-tips. Gotta have your Q-tips.
Do
So
they have to be name brand?
they do not. You can get the great value band. It's just ducky.
Yeah.
But anywhere from putting chalk under their eyes, cleaning, whatever you're doing. Of course, especially like if you have breeds, like sometimes my spaniels, not as good about like, "Oh, this isn't where we usually go poo poo. I don't want to go poo poo here, but they need to go. And if you don't get them to go, they're going to go in the ring. So I have more than often, if they haven't had their morning poop before I show them, I'll go ahead, insert one of these halfway in, walk them around until they poop it out. Uh, just to have them, the Q-tips are not going to need to do that with chin, but like a little bit bigger dog, it's a biggie. You want to go ahead and have something. You don't have Q-tips because, just like I say, grooming, other stuff, cleaning their ears, whatever, handy, good to have, or to make them poop, which is important. That's something that's kind of great to have on hand.
Only on the Tackbox Podcast do you hear about using Q-tips to make your dogs poop, you know?
Hey, it's a. I wonder if Q-Tip would sponsor us if they knew we were using their product to make dogs poop. That might be, like the next big show we go to have probably sponsored by Q-Tip. You know,
It gets the shit out.
but it gets shit done. There you go. Absolutely.
I also have Q-tips in my tack box all over the place, and mainly for under the eyes. Not chalk. I don't use chalk, but if I want to dry anything up or around the nose, just cleaning around the nose or eyes. Ears. I've been having a weird ear thing lately, so using a ton of Q-tips to get chin ears cleaned. So
Hmm.
those are super beneficial to have.
Super beneficial.
The other reason, the number one reason I can't take a shower without Q-tips, and I always forget to bring them for myself, but I can't stand wet ears, so I'm stealing them out of the tack box all the time after I shower to clean my own ears because I forget to throw them
There you
in my
go.
bag. So
There,
there you go.
there you have it. The other thing that you can be when you're traveling with your dogs, and there are some things that are breed specific. I mean, we're talking about some stuff like if you're traveling with a breed that could possibly bloat, like whether it's a Great Dane or something like that. They have like bloat tubes and things that you should be paying it. You need to have on hand with you what your breed and or dogs might have need of in an emergency situation where you can take that stressful situation around and you can turn it around and provide care either till you can get to a vet or till you can, get because you really have to kind of like bring the kennel on the road. Now, one thing that I've had over the years is I've had dogs get bit by spiders or by wasp stings or stuff like that. And a French bulldog got stung by a wasp in the face, and his face started swelling up and like rapidly, amazingly fast. And I've had cavaliers do it as well. So you really need to either have some Benadryl or I carry a little dexamethasone with me just in case for an anaphylactic type of shock, because you have that moment in time when you can turn things around. I I keep it in the box. It's haven't had to use it often. Good. That's the best stuff is the things you don't have to use. But if you're traveling and if something goes wrong, and if you have it on hand, there you go. That's just one less thing to have to worry about. But liquid Benadryl also another option. Just something for if you get something like that type of happens on your road. It's it's a handy thing to have. Carrying a 3 cc syringe never a bad idea. Because in case you have to, you can either give oral medication or give a shot or anything like that. Keep a fresh syringe in your tack box. You won't need it until you need it.
And when you need it, you're gonna be thankful that you have it, and when you don't have it is when you're gonna need it, and it's like carrying a spare tire in your car, you know? You just like,
Bingo.
"This is dumb," until you need it, and then it's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad this was there."
Well, and I have something that I bet you haven't thought of that I go ahead. Oh, and of course I have also, and I let your daughter use this when we were in Marshall. Because our dogs, even though we say that they're minimal shedding, sometimes it's more minimal than others. You know, by the time we're done grooming, or you're set up next to someone who's grooming, who's just blowing all their dog's hair on you, that's kind of handy to get off, get all that garbage off of your clothes, so you don't look like you slept on the floor.
Those things are hard to open when they're new. I mean, those things can be
Yeah.
tricky, those lint rollers.
Yep. Yep.
They're a pain sometimes, but you gotta have them. I
Yeah. I
forgot
mean,
mine this weekend, and I regretted it, and then you're like, "Well, I can go buy it from this vendor," and then you go look, and it's like $6 for a lint roller, and it's like, "Yeah, I'll just go like this for a little bit and get my lint roller when I get home because it's not worth $6."
yeah. But well, yeah, you're not a girl. If you were a girl, you would have paid the $6. Be like,
Yeah,
I
probably.
need this. I can't go. I can't. Well, yeah. So since a lot of times when we're traveling, we're meeting other dog people, and even though that this is something you're not going to do at the show because it's not allowed as per AKC rules, but one thing that we're going to be doing is sometimes is we're going to be doing artificial inseminations. Sometimes you're going to be doing a breeding on there. So in my tack box, I keep an AI tip. I keep a collection tube, and I keep my insemination tube. I just keep that in a thing there. It's handy in case if I'm planning on doing, 'cause it always seems like traveling where maybe you're breeding it, taking your dog with you while you're on the road, and you're getting it bred because it's going to be ready to be bred while you're on the road. Having that AI kit along kind of guarantees that you got it. If you need it, you got it. Could be hard to replace if you or try to find one if you need it and you're on the road.
Yeah, that would be really hard. That ain't being sold at a vendor at the dog show.
Not be a solo vendor. Exactly. You're just your standard grooming stuff is you're going to be in there, whether you have your whatever kind of chalks and powders and everything you like to use on that, your anti-stats and, you know, your little
I kinda
small
stayed
spray
away from
bottles.
that type of s yeah, I kinda stayed away from that stuff because it's like, those are the things that everybody thinks to take is, "I can't forget my comb and brush." And you do, and then you just go to the vendor and you buy it, but it's like, what are the things, where it's like you don't always need and aren't on the top of your priority list to take. I mean, those are the ones that I think are more beneficial. One for me on the list is mouthwash or breath mints. And
There
the
you
reason that
go.
I do that is I I do it for 2 reasons. 1, I can't stand talking to people that have bad breath, so I'm super self-conscious of it myself because I don't wanna be, "Hey, judge, how you doing today?" And the judge is like, "Oh my gosh, you had a burrito for breakfast." And as a judge, I'm sure you've experienced that a ton with exhibitors. You walk up to examine their dog and they say hello, and it's just like, good Lord, I don't even wanna examine your dog anymore. So, breath mints or something like that. And I've also heard and I've seen people doing it. I don't know how true it is or if it's just an old wives' tale, but I've heard if you throw a breath mint in before you go in the ring, it like helps calm you down. Your dog can feel it through the lead, the things that are calmer. And I've seen some professional handlers do it. I don't know. I feel like that's an old wives' tale that I've won some group placements where I didn't put a breath mint in, so I don't know that
Well,
that
there you
really does
go.
anything.
You're
But
just
do it for the
dispelling that.
sanity of yeah, do it for the sanity of your judge and the people around you that don't wanna deal with your bad breath. Because look, we're in these hot buildings all day, and you might not talk for 20 minutes, and you had your coffee and you got coffee breath, like, come on. Yeah. Yep, deodorant, maybe a deodorant should be on there, Dale.
Well, yeah, there you go. All of those things. But mostly, like I say, for me, it's the stuff that I need to take care of my dogs in a pinch. What I need to do, what I need to have to turn a situation around, to be able to get them eating right, feeling right, dealing with a minor injury, making them comfortable, and to have what I need while I'm stressing them, traveling them, exposing them to other stuff. All of these things are just like, just have what I need to do to like a little mash unit so you can, you know, turn that situation around to your advantage.
Yeah, because that's not I mean, when you hear the term tack box, you always just automatically think grooming or showing, right? So you think combs, brushes, leads. That's kind of where I think most people's minds go to. But think about being at a show and you forgot your brush or your comb. And say it's a smaller show and there's not vendors to say there's other exhibitors that have combs and brushes that you're gonna figure it out. Like you're gonna figure out a comb and
Sure,
a brush and things like that.
sure.
But when your dog hurts itself or has diarrhea or something like that, is like you can't. First of all, you might not have time to go around asking anybody, "Do you have this? My dog's bleeding all over the place. Do you got any quick stop?" Or there might not be a vendor that can buy it. So those are the types of things where it's like we want to be able to intervene as fast as we can to give our dog the best chance of, I don't want to say survival, but survival, like the best chance
Sure.
to recover as quick as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and there's all sorts of like as you kind of like get your every experience you have is like, okay, I'm traveling here. I've got however many feet of extension cord I think I need. I'm gonna bring twice as much. If you have how many extension prongs are you going to need to plug in? How many? Think you're going to bring twice as much. In the summertime, you're going to be packing fans. All of that stuff is just things you're going to need to have that you should be carrying along with you to take care of your dogs. Whether there's like, especially summertime stuff when you might need electrolytes or have probiotics. There's stuff you can do supportively to either keep them healthy or turn a situation around, whether either an injury or a stress or anything like that. Like I say, I like to, well, you've been with me, I usually use hospital pads and towels. I like white towels. That's what I use. That's what I'm like. That's, you'll come up with your thing and then you'll work within your thing.
I
That's
can tell you the,
that.
the white towels work pretty good. I went and bought like a 50 pack off of Amazon. It's like, first of all, they're cheap. You throw them in a garbage bag, and when you get home, you throw them in the washer with a cup of bleach, and they come out clean
Uh-huh.
and sanitary. I mean, it is
You
what
know
it
what?
is. The white towels are nice.
Yeah, and the other thing is like if you have a double coated breed like we did, you can throw a little fabric softener on them, keeps the static down on them. Because like in the wintertime when they're running the heat in there, and you pull them out, and your dog's hair is going, a little bit, all of those stuff that works good for your breed, makes your traveling there going good for your dog.
Bonus item, which could be used for multiple different reasons, from picking up poop to throwing dirty towels in, whatever you want. But the reason that I bring grocery bags is
Hmm.
because in Colorado, freaking Walmart charges you to use for bags. I don't know where else they do it, but I've been to Colorado twice now, and you have to enter when you check out how many bags you're doing, and they charge you 50 cents a bag or something like that. And so I
Are you
started bringing,
serious?
yeah, I'm dead serious. It's like the dumbest thing I've seen
50
throughout
cents a
dog
bag.
showing.
We need to go ahead and just set up outside of Walmart, bring all of our bags, and you will sell them to people for a quarter.
It might be 10 cents a bag. I don't know. It was something stupid, and I was so blown away of like, "You're gonna charge me a bag for my groceries?" So I'm the fool in there, like, with a cart full of groceries because we stay at an Airbnb, so we always go to Walmart and buy groceries, and then we just cook. I'm in there just pushing my cart through the parking lot full of stuff without any bags because I was like, "I'm not paying for bags. That just seems un-American, so I'm not paying for
It
bags."
is, but I mean, they have. There's some places just have rules, and it's like I was at a very nice Colorado show, and we were coming out of the cafeteria area, and at home we have like one garbage can, and maybe there'll be two, maybe they'll have one for plastics. So all right, two. I come out of there like four. And people are behind me, and I'm kind of like panicking, like, "Oh my god, which goes in there?" And I kind of like made a mistake, and I'm like, "Oh no, I just dropped a can in the plastics." And of course, then people behind me are like, so disappointed, like, "Oh, he just
Yeah,
dropped a can in the plastics. There goes the
you're supposed to
environment."
know. Yep,
Yeah, I
exactly.
ruined the Rocky Mountains just that fast. It's a lot of stress for us people who aren't used to it.
Yeah, for the people that throw all recycles in the same bin, when you separate them out, it's just like we don't know what to do.
Yeah,
I see
we
3
think
different
we're
recycling ones, I don't know.
I'm telling you, I think that that Generation Jones, where, we're think that we're pretty good to having two cans. We just weren't up to four. We're not four material. Our
No.
parents were one, maybe even just a pit in the ground, but now we're got up to two. But now you guys are working off of four. That's a lot. You got to admit.
I can't even figure
Yeah,
out the recycle bin at home. I think I'm doing right with the recycles, and then the city people that pick it up put nasty grams on it, like, "You can't recycle this, you can't recycle," and I'm like, "Well, I don't know. I thought it was recyclable. I guess not." We're
try
getting
harder.
even
Apply
yeah,
yourself.
we're getting rules on what can be recycled and what can't, so all right. That will, wrap up the part of the show where we talk about what's in your tack box, and hopefully you guys got some great ideas. If you have other ideas that maybe we missed or you want to share with other people
Share
what
with
you
us.
put in your tack box, put it in the
Absolutely.
comments down below on YouTube or go to our Facebook group and leave it in there. All right. We're moving on to the listener question portion of the episode. So if you're new here, we end each episode now going forward with some questions that we get from our avid listeners. So if you do have questions, go to our Facebook group or instant message me, ask your questions, send us an email, the Tackbox at gmail.com, and we'll get your question on one of our episodes. So Dale, the first question that we have this week, somebody wants to know how you handle, as a breeder, how do you handle when buyers want to see your kennel set up?
That's a very valid question. Good question there, whoever asked that. So everywhere on the internet, people ask they want to see this, want to see that. You could have some photos available. You can show, have some pictures of how you raise your puppies. I do not recommend ever doing kennel tours of your dogs. It's not safe. Not a good idea. Your kennel is your dog's home and sanctuary. It's your nursery for your puppies. You should be exercising extreme biosecurity. If you're going to shows, you're already exposing stuff in there. You really need to just like have some nice pictures and just kind of say, this is part of our process, and this is how we do it, and such and so forth and so on. Of course, we're not going to go cruising through your kennel, but here's some pictures or whatever, that kind of thing. That's enough. That is actually sufficient. You don't need to see more than that. And especially when you talk to a breeder that is American Kennel Club registered, AKC does kennel inspections. So if your breeder is AKC recognized, it's been inspected by someone who comes in with boot covers and they have biosecurity and stuff like that. Some states require licensing and stuff like that. So it is not a reasonable request, and you should not make your kennel available to the public. It's just bad plan. It's a bad idea.
I mean, I 100% agree from my perspective. And as interesting as it is, and the reason I would ask to see people's kennel setups is completely different. But I would ask to see because it'd be like, I want to see
You're
how you set up
curious.
your kennels because I want to design, like for
Hmm.
my own design, like do you have something that works better than what I'm doing, But think about
Absolutely.
I'm also the type of person that I'd go to home open houses for homes just to look at layouts
Hmm.
of homes, just for
Sure.
I'm into that. Think about it in the aspect of if some random stranger just asked you on Facebook Marketplace, like, "Can I have a tour of your house?" Well, you're gonna be like,
Yeah.
"No." Or when you
No.
have company come over, you clean up a little bit because we're humans and we don't live in a spot-free home 100% of the time. So, there might be a dirty dish in the sink every once in a while, but you're not going to put that in a picture, right? So, think about that aspect of things when you're asking to see. I mean, this is the dog's home and facility, and there's a lot of sanitary reasons, that people don't go in kennels. You don't need to have people in there. So,
It's a bad plan. It's just a bad plan, and it's really not. I kind of really don't like the places that throw out that people should do this, because I honestly am kind of funny about the idea of, like, I don't think that people should have strangers coming to their home. It's really not the same. It's not Warden June Cleaver and the beaver's friends are coming over to play with the puppies in the yard. No, you're on the World Wide Web. You don't know these people. You don't know who you're giving your personal information to. They might be perfectly lovely people that you might forge a great relationship and friendship with, but at this point, they are a stranger.
they also
And
might be a
you,
killer, and
well, I mean, I don't
I don't
want
like to
to.
live in that fear world, but it happens. It just happened
Well,
in Colorado last year.
you have to be realistic in the idea that you might, if I was like, I would never want uh, Jane to go ahead and have people that inquired her on the internet and have him come to the house where she was here by herself. Would not like that idea. I don't think that's a good idea. That's a bad plan, you know. And so you really, when people talk about that, sometimes I say, maybe you should meet them at PetSmart. Maybe you should meet them at your veterinarian's office. Maybe you should meet them. You should, really think long and hard. Do you have multiple people in your house? Make sure that you vet these people a little bit before you have them come to your house. If you're going to have them come to your house, put a little extra work in, vet them, find out who are they, find out, Google them, you know, go on there and
Beyond
find
that,
out before
though,
they
like,
come into your home.
what are they carrying on them? Not weapons, but on their shoes. Are they carrying kennel
Sure.
cough and they're bringing it into your home? Like, I mean, what are they
They
carrying? What diseases could they be carrying into your home to infect your dogs with?
Well, that's why when the inspectors come, they put on boots. They put boot covers on. It's not a good plan. You don't know where they've been. It's not safe for your dogs. It's not safe for you. You don't know who those people are. You should be polite and courteous and informative, but also be protective of your home, be protective of your dogs and yourself. Think that through. And I think that's something where you just really need to invite people in on a controlled basis and kind of have a plan for that.
Absolutely. All right. Question number two. This person wants to. Okay, so this person has a dog, and they want to know how to determine whether they should. So it sounds like I'm just putting this together. It sounds like they have a show dog, that is coming of breed age and want to know how they should determine whether they should keep showing this dog or they should breed this dog?
Well, that's a fair question. So we really need to see have they shown it? What degree of success has it had? Is it a breed that could benefit from having a litter of puppies? Will it mature it out more? Is it a coated breed that will be totally out of coat for over a year now if you have the litter of puppies? You have to kind of decide. Usually, if you breed them, you're pretty much done showing them. If you haven't, in the conformation end of it, depending on the breed. But so you kind of need to decide. Your dog really your dog should really probably have puppies when it's 2, 3, and 4 years. That's your 3-year window. Of those, 6 seasons are probably your reproductive seasons that you probably should breed them at. So look and see how you're coming along. Look and see if you're like really think that this dog is winning the way I want to. If you think, well, it's a good dog, but we're just not really taking off, maybe breed it, have a litter, you know, and keep back the puppy to start over with, that kind of thing. So you just kind of need to decide what your goals are long term. Am I wanting a puppy to show? Is this dog, I'm showing this dog now, but as soon as I get done showing it, I'm gonna breed it and I'm gonna give it to my sister to be her pet, then okay, then go ahead and breed it, do it, get your litter to move forward. You know, if you think the dog just needs 6 more months to take off and it's gonna win everything, well then do that. That's where sometimes having a mentor that has made those choices and those mistakes is really beneficial. Someone in your breed knows your breed, and then maybe they can say, "Hey, you know, it's a nice dog. It's got some good bloodlines. You should breed this dog. You can get an even better puppy." Maybe ask them for a suggestion on a stud and kind of move forward if you're not getting the success that you want.
Yeah, even if you're having success, it's something to contemplate too, because as Dale's saying, breed specifics, if we're talking, let's just say Japanese chin, because that's what I'm familiar with, we're going to blow coat and it's going to be a year before that bitch is in condition to show again. And,
Mhm.
I mean, we also know from experience too, like you can take a bitch and you can breed her 3, 4 times. And then when you retire from breeding, take her back out. There's a Japanese chin right now that's out there winning everything like mad. That's 6 years old. That's one of Dale's dogs. But she's had plenty of litters of puppies. She's got to do the mom thing. She got retired from the mom thing. Now she's back in the show ring again with an amazing coat and looks really good. And she's winning everything in sight. So
Sure.
you're not making this isn't I don't feel like this is a one-time decision. You're making the decision of like, yeah, I'm going to breed this bitch now, but doesn't mean you're done showing forever either. You can have a litter or two and then go back out. You and I have talked about this with my tri bitch. It's like a group placing bitch, but she's coming upon breeding age. Well, do we want to keep showing her or do we want to breed her? And we've talked about a sire for a litter and things like that. And it's like, doesn't mean if we decide to breed her, that she's going to be done showing for the rest of her
Forever.
life. But we can get some litters out of her and push my kennel forward with making that pedigree stronger from her. But then maybe in 2, 3 years, we bring her back out. She needs some maturity anyway, because she's only 14 months old. So she needs that coat maturity and things like that. So we could get some litters out of her, maybe find our future show puppy, and while that puppy's maturing, she could be
There
back
you go.
out again, showing and winning some stuff. So I think you can look at it a few different ways of really what your goal is, but breed specific too, because short hair breeds, you might be in condition 3 months after having puppies to go show again.
Absolutely.
It might not ruin a whole year out of your show career. Who knows?
But
I
get with
think,
your mentor and
yeah,
find out, make a
mentor.
plan that works with that's done this because somebody has made that decision before and they can give you the insight. You can kind of be honest about what your goals are, what your plans are. Is this a good time for me to have puppies? Should I do this now? Then yeah, rock on, do it.
Perfect. All right. I saw this last question, and I kind of picked this question. It wasn't like a direct question to us, but I think it's a quick topic of conversation that doesn't need a whole episode. But I saw it in a group, And it kind of applies to me right now. So I was like, let's just toss this out there and kind of go back and forth on it. Finding reputable pet transporters. So, say you're going to buy a puppy across the country, or you need to get a dog from you to across the country or across the country to you. How do you go about finding reputable pet transporters? Is there legit businesses out there that do it that are certified, or you finding handlers? How do we go about doing that?
So first off, you really need to break this down. What kind of dog are we transporting? What are the special needs of this dog? And then we're going to go ahead and say, you know, where is this going to go? And then, is this a dog that can be hand carried with a pet nanny? Is this a puppy or a small dog that's, 16 pounds or less that can go under the seat of a plane? If so, if the answer is yes, it can go under the seat of a plane, then you would want to find a pet nanny or do it yourself, cash in some miles, book a flight, take a day out of your life and, you know, make a trip down there and a trip back. That's a viable thing. So that's an option that's open for small dog people that we can do that. Uh, which I do a lot. I work with pet nannies often. I kind of go on referrals, and I have a couple that I've used that I like, and I know them, and when I've talked to them, I talk about what are you going to have in your care bag, your tack box, you need to have this, this, and this, and I try to give them a little psychological profile of the dog they're going to be traveling with, and some of them are make sure that you have a meeting of the minds, that they know what you want done with this dog, and you have kind of a little plan in place. And so that's number one. The other ones is there are ground transport is available through some very reputable people that have a lot of experience handling dogs, because again, traveling dogs, you have temperatures, you have possible mechanical breakdowns, you have all sorts of stuff. Dogs are stressed, accidents can happen. So you really want to be sure that you take the time, interview. People tend to go, oh, well, I'm going to use this one. Why? Well, he was $300 less. Well, okay. How is this? How are you going to feel if something goes wrong with that dog and the dog doesn't make it there? That $300 going to buy you another dog? You know, you really need to know, and there is some of them are licensed and bonded. Some of them will have a USDA license for transport. Just kind of do some research before you like hand your dog to somebody and go. And I am not a big fan of, hey, are you heading to Poughkeepsie? I have a dog that needs to go there. No, no. I want you. I want Gotta know you. I gotta know you know how to take care of my dog. I gotta know that this is gonna be, just someone going from point A to point B is not good enough. Someone might not be aware that it's 101 degrees out and that car is gonna get hot that fast. There's just that kind of stuff you want to, or that dog could get away, or they might not have the skill set to handle an animal that's freaked out or stressed on travel. You have to be very careful with that. You need to take a very hands-on, active approach how to safely transport that dog. For like pet people, you're only getting one dog for the next 10 years. Make a trip. Get your dog. But for people who are breeding and showing and we're moving dogs around a little bit, we'll have people that we can work with, go on referrals, and kind of get a good feel for it before you do it. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a whole ton to add. I haven't done nearly as much as you, but I have sent and received dogs via flight nannies because I deal with small breed. And I think just in time, if you ever get a dog or have sent a dog, like keep the contact information of the nanny and then you start texting or reaching out, gathering information. I think there's uses on Facebook groups of asking for reliable referrals. Maybe not asking like Dale saying, don't ask if anybody going to Dallas from Colorado, I need a dog taken, but maybe anybody use a pet transportation service, and get recommendations of people that have actually used them before. But yeah, I think as Dale said, if you're buying yourself a pet, just travel. A lot of times you could probably travel for pretty cheap yourself too if you wanted to deliver a dog. If if your time is not super valuable to where
Available?
it's like, yeah, if it's available and it's like I can fly across the country and back, or halfway across the country, maybe you're only flying a 2-hour flight, and you can fly that 2-hour flight, drop the dog off, fly back, and rack up some airline miles, and then you do that enough and all of a sudden you got a free flight somewhere. Maybe that's up to you. I don't like flying, and to me, I'd rather just somebody else do it, so I'm going to pay the money to have somebody else do
Sure,
it
sure.
because I don't want
But
to do it. But you can do the same day flights and just meet the dog at the airport and jump right back on the airplane. And actually,
well,
I sent the dog out
yeah.
a couple weeks ago, and it was like the person that flew in to get the dog literally got off the airplane, grabbed my dog, and had to be right back on the exact same airplane to go right back out. So it was like, meet at security. Here's the dog. Bye bye. And they were right back on again.
But they're going to probably have that dog in the owner's arms in 4 hours, 5 hours.
Yeah.
That's pretty fast and pretty clean. And you just want to make sure that whoever's caring for your dog understands the care that dog needs, understands who that dog is. And if that dog is one that is, if it's a female dog that's in season and she's being transported, maybe keep a collar. Have to have a leash and collars to make sure she doesn't get away from them. Maybe find out, can that dog climb? Is this dog, I mean, are they going to be freaked out? All of that kind of stuff. Like, if you don't know, then you should just really take a proactive approach to that. And the referrals are really important. Like I said, ground transport for the larger dogs is there. It used to be in a previous lifetime, we did a lot of air travel and a lot of shipping. That was very common. It's kind of hard to do now. Only certain breeds can be done. And it's, you know, if you have one of those breeds, if you're in one of those areas and you're going hub to hub, it can still be done. But most of what's being done now is either through flight nanny or ground transport or owner pickup, that type of thing. But still dogs are moving around and I mean, and amazingly safely, you know, but you really have to be diligent and really find out, make sure that they know and make sure the people taking care of your dogs. And you might say, oh, well, they're not going to need to feed them. They're only going to they're going to go right back out on the plane. Well, what if that flight's canceled? What if that flight gets canceled? And so that person now that was going to get right back on the plane is going to have your dogs for 6, 7 hours. So there should be something to feed them. You might need to have NutriCal. If this is a young puppy, they might need to be able to care for that dog while it's in transit. So it gets there in good health. Prepare for the unexpected.
Absolutely. And sometimes it seems ridiculous to think about, but if you're paying two, three, four, five, $6,000 for a dog, paying 700 to 1,200 to get the dog delivered one time ever, not really that bad.
No, no. I mean, that's kind of the price you pay for shopping off of the world shelves. You know, if that's
Yeah.
otherwise buy to where you can drive yourself and go and just work off of your local stuff and then just do that, But
Don't
otherwise,
live in
you're
South
going to have to,
Dakota and you wouldn't have to ship stuff as much.
yeah, well, unless, hey, there's no judging about that, You guys have Mount Rushmore, I mean, have all that greatness there. So,
Yeah,
so you have
that's
to,
what we could do in South Dakota. We could say, anybody coming to Mount Rushmore to do some
anybody come
tourist
Mount
stuff?
Rushmore?
Can you bring a dog?
There you go. I'll
Yeah.
meet you at Wall Drug. I'll treat you to a free ice water.
Yeah. You got this. We got this figured out. We use South Dakota to our
Sure.
advantage. Passing through I
Yeah.
90, bring a
Yeah,
dog.
there you go. There you go. On your way. On your way. Just get on the Trail of Cheers and head west.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for submitting questions. Again, if you want to have your questions answered by Dale and myself, you can submit them via our Facebook group, direct message me, not Dale, direct message me, or email the Tackbox Podcast at gmail.com, and we can get your questions answered on an upcoming episode. So thanks for listening to this episode. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, leave us a review, let us know that you're enjoying the podcast, or If you're not enjoying it, just send me a message and say, "This is what we wanna hear," you know? Yeah, just don't leave a bad review, just tell us what to improve, Easy, easy, But anyway, thanks for, being a part of the Tackbox Podcast, we really appreciate it. We will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye now.